Discover the 7 amazing lessons revealed for transformative career moves from job to business. Emma stood in her kitchen, heart racing, mind swirling. The letter from the hospital lay crumpled in her trembling hands, the ink blurring as tears threatened to spill. Layoff. It was a word she'd never thought would touch her life. A devoted nurse for 12 years, she'd comforted families and guided them through their darkest hours. But now, she faced an uncertain future. How would she explain this to her 8-year-old son, Jake, who relied on her as his anchor? The weight of responsibility collided with her anxiety, suffocating her resolve. What would she do now? With each thought, a new wave of doubt washed over her. Emma had invested everything into her career, sacrificing sleep, friendships, and even hobbies. She had clung to the notion that honest work pays off, just like her father, a retired mechanic, always said. Yet here she was, uprooted, feeling as if the ground beneath her had vanished. What if she couldn't find another job? What if they lost their home? She closed her eyes, desperately trying to quiet the storm inside her. Thoughts spiraled like a twister, self-blame, despair, guilt mixed with fleeting memories of scissors snipping fabric and paintbrushes dancing across canvas. Crafting had once been her escape, a means to express herself during long nights after shifts. But family, work, and life had pushed her passion aside. Could she possibly reignite it now? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let us continue. Despite her hesitation, a flicker of hope ignited within her. Maybe crafting could be her answer. She envisioned a small business selling handmade items, unique creations that spoke to the heart. However, with every burst of inspiration came a heavy weight of fear that followed her. The timer ticked an agonizing rhythm, urging her to make a move, yet crippling uncertainty forced her to second-guess her ambitions. Could she turn her passion into a livelihood? Starting fresh at her age felt daunting, like scaling a mountain with no climbing gear. As days turned into weeks, she gathered supplies, crafting late into the night while Jake slept. But every successful piece brought another wave of pressure. How would she compete against others, especially the seasoned artisans? A sense of societal stigma loomed, and as her confidence grew, so did her anxiety. The balance of motherhood and entrepreneurship carved deeper lines on her brow. What if she failed? What kind of example would that set for Jake? Yet, just as she'd begun to find her footing, a new store popped up across the street, boasting mass-produced items at a fraction of the price. Emma's heart sank. Was her passion worth competing against such a giant? Should she compromise her integrity to survive? The echoes of her father's voice lingered, reminding her that hard work should be honest. Torn between ambition and ethical grounding, Emma faced her choices viscerally. Every minute spun into thoughts of desperation and determination. With every decision weighing heavier than the last, Emma was left on the brink of a choice that might redefine her life entirely. Would she fight to retain her individuality in a saturated marketplace, or would she buckle under pressure, sacrificing her core values for a fleeting chance at success? Emma stared at the growing pile of handcrafted items on her kitchen table, each piece representing a silent rebellion against her fears. The warmth of creativity pulsed through her fingertips, yet doubt crept back in like an uninvited guest. As she placed a delicate pendant among her creations, her thoughts turned to Jake. She was painfully aware that her decisions would shape his understanding of resilience and risk. What message was she sending him if she faltered? Was she trying to prove something to herself, or was this merely a way to avoid fully confronting her loss? Gazing through the window, she caught sight of the new store across the street. Its bright signs and glossy displays taunted her. How could she possibly compete? The price tags on those mass-produced items whispered that success depended on quantity over quality, a dangerous temptation. Yet, she remembered her father's steadfast belief in craftsmanship. That conviction pulsed within her, urging her to embrace authenticity, to stand out even when it felt easier to blend in. Every piece tells a story, she muttered to herself, drawing strength from these thoughts. But just as certainty began to surface, a new anxiety washed over her. What exactly was her story? She bustled around the kitchen, organizing her crafting supplies and mentally jotting down ideas for a business name. Grounded in her nursing background, she wanted to evoke warmth, healing, creativity, the very things that fueled her passion. Heartfelt creations, she wrote, but it didn't quite feel right. Emma's internal dialogue began to shift. Reflecting on her time spent with patience, she realized each encounter was a lesson in human connection. Perhaps she could weave that spirit into her offerings, creating pieces that symbolized healing and hope. Her work could serve as not just an artisanal craft but a guiding light for others in moments of uncertainty. This idea sparked a fire within her. But how could she convey that in her branding? Balancing ambition and motherhood often felt like a high-wire act, requiring careful navigation. She recalled the look in Jake's eyes when he felt proud of her. If she could teach him the value of perseverance as she forged her path, maybe her risk could lead to a bigger lesson. But the voice of skepticism echoed louder. Could she really pull this off? Days passed, and Emma accepted the challenge to build not just a business, but a legacy of authenticity. She researched local artisan expos, health fairs, and community bazaars where she could showcase her work. Each decision, however, came with the reality of costs, permits, and time, each an invisible thread weaving tighter around her limited means. As she navigated this new terrain, Emma felt a pang of dread when she focused again on those mass-produced competitors. They were exploiting consumer desires with efficiency and glamour, drawing customers with promises of convenience. She found herself growing resentful of the notion that quality could be traded for price. Here, this dichotomy of passion against market realities evolved into a full-blown identity crisis. Could she uphold her values while still earning a living? It was during one of her late-night crafting sessions that inspiration struck. Emma decided to host a local workshop, inviting others to share in her crafting experience. Maybe it's time to build a community, she mused. If she could create an experience where people not only purchased her items but truly engaged with the art of crafting, she could carve a niche that distinguished her from those who relied solely on profitability as their compass. The prospect tinged her with excitement, yet the fear of failure loomed like a dark cloud as she prepared to introduce her first workshop. Emma stood at the precipice of a new chapter in her life. Could she become the leader of her own venture that aligned with her values? Or would doubt once again strike her down, like so many times before? Her hand shook slightly as she sent out invitations. The vulnerability of her aspirations brushed against her skin. Like a chill in the air, it was time to step out and face the unknown. Would her idea resonate, connecting with those searching for authenticity in an increasingly commercial world? Questions hung in the air unanswered but pressing, driving Emma toward a moment that could reshape everything. Tomorrow would unveil the opportunity. She needed a chance to confront her fears head-on. Would this be the turning point that led to her personal and professional growth, or simply another stone in her path of heartbreak? The workshop loomed as an uncertain threshold. Emma took a deep breath, preparing to cross it, afraid yet resolute. The morning light seeped through the kitchen window, warming the wood surfaces like an embrace. Emma took a deep breath, her heart thundering in anticipation of the day ahead. As she adjusted her crafting supplies, she felt the weight of her aspirations pressing against her chest. She had sent the invitations, and now all she could do was wait. Yet, she couldn't shake the self-doubt swirling in her mind. Would anyone show up? What if they did? And she stumbled over her words, failing to convey her vision. Determined to shake off the anxiety, Emma busied herself, arranging her workspace with meticulous care. The items she had crafted, each pendant, bracelet, and decorative piece, were no longer mere products. They represented fragments of her soul. These were tokens of her healing journey, imbued with the hope that others might find solace through her creativity. She recalled a particularly poignant moment with a patient back when she was still nursing, a young woman who had found comfort in a small, hand-knit blanket. That connection, the strength in shared vulnerability, was what she wanted to recreate in her workshop. While arranging her materials, Emma stumbled upon a journal filled with sketches and designs, remnants of a past life that echoed with unfulfilled dreams. Flipping through the pages ignited a spark of inspiration. What if she used this workshop to encourage participants to tap into their own creative reservoirs? This could be a two-way street, an exchange of energy and stories, rather than a one-sided transaction. She found herself scribbling new prompts for the workshop, weaving in elements of self-discovery and shared creativity. Yet, the clock continued to tick, each passing minute heightening her sense of urgency. She filled a vase with fresh flowers, a simple yet powerful gesture to create a welcoming atmosphere. Each petal reminded her of her father's lessons on nurturing beauty, both in her surroundings and within herself. He had always said that creation was a form of healing. Today, she needed to believe those words wholeheartedly as the hour approached. Emma took a moment to collect her thoughts in front of the mirror. Staring at her reflection, she wondered if her self-doubt was a roadblock or merely an obstacle she could overcome. Her heart raced as she replayed her intentions in her mind. This workshop was about more than handmade crafts. It was a lifeline to forge connections just like those she'd nurtured with her patience. Suddenly, a flurry of activity broke her reverie. The doorbell chimed, followed by the sound of hesitant footsteps approaching. Her heart pounded. Was this the moment she had long awaited, or an impending disaster? Opening the door, she was greeted by a small group of familiar faces, some neighbors and a few acquaintances from her past crafting endeavors. Their smiles brought her a surge of relief, yet heightened her awareness of the responsibility on her shoulders. She led them into the kitchen, the space bustling with energy. As she began to speak, she felt the trepidation ebbing, replaced by a growing conviction. "Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here today," Emma began, her voice steady, echoing her internal resolve. As she shared her vision, she sensed the mood shift. Her passion ignited a similar spark in others, and she started to see them as contributors, not merely attendees. This realization transformed her approach. She was not just leading a workshop. She was cultivating a community of creators. The hours flew by, filled with laughter, shared stories, and the scent of creative possibilities. Each participant uncovered hidden talents, surprising themselves and each other. Emma facilitated discussions that meandered through the realms of art and healing, and as they crafted together, their spirits intertwined with newfound understanding. Celebrating the end of the workshop, Emma was surprised to find her heart swelled not with exhaustion but with fulfillment. She had created an experience that resonated deeply with each participant, leaving them inspired and eager for more. Yet, even in that glow of success, a flicker of uncertainty remained. This was only the beginning, and challenges still loomed. As relationships deepened, she was reminded of the fragility of connection, a reminder that it could just as easily fracture. Emma stood amidst the remnants of her workshop, colorful threads scattered, unfinished projects in various stages of completion, and felt a shift within herself. The workshop was not just an enterprise. It had become a cornerstone of her identity, an affirmation of her values. But to solidify this path, she needed to confront the next hurdle, the growing tension with her former career. Would she retreat to the safety of familiar walls or relentlessly pursue this newfound calling? Determined to face this quandary, Emma took a deep breath, picturing the future she craved. The time had come to evaluate her next steps critically. Would she fully embrace her role as a creative entrepreneur, risking everything she had built until now? Or would the fear of failure pull her back into the anonymity of safety? As these thoughts swirled in her mind, one thing became clear. More than ever, her story was unfolding, and the next chapter was poised to reveal itself. Emma stood in the quiet of her kitchen long after everyone had left. The remnants of her workshop echoed around her, splashes of paint-stained fabric draped over chairs and half-finished jewelry scattered across the table. Each element held a memory, a laughter, an exchange of dreams, a connection she had forged. Yet, the vivid energy of the day was now tinged with an unsettling calm. Her heart thudded rhythmically, a reminder of the upcoming crossroads. Uncertainty gnawed at her insides. She contemplated the deliberation of quitting her nursing job, a career she had poured her heart into for years. Yet here was the irony. A mere few hours spent providing a creative outlet had ignited a philosophy about healing that she hadn't felt for far too long. Could she genuinely reconcile her passion for nursing with this burgeoning desire for a creative venture? She picked up her journal, flipping to a blank page, an open canvas in its own right. Writing had always been a refuge, a way to clarify her thoughts. As she took the pen to paper, Emma wondered what she truly valued. The words flowed, not as a list of challenges but as affirmations of her desires and fears. Creativity was not in opposition to her former profession, it could complement it. In her journal, she wrote about combining healing and creativity, a full-circle dream that would marry the aesthetics of art with the nurturing of well-being, much like her interactions with patients. Could be a fusion of both worlds, a holistic offering that could appeal to individuals seeking solace and self-expression. However, pursuing this vision meant taking actionable steps. Emma's thoughts shifted into strategy mode. What did she need to learn about running a business? Should she attend workshops, network with other artisans, or perhaps seek online resources? Planning slowly began to take shape in her mind. While contemplating these practicalities, a knock on the door jolted her from her reverie. It was Sarah, a neighbor who had attended her workshop. "I thought you might like some company," she said, holding 2 steaming cups of herbal tea. As they settled into the warmth of the kitchen, Emma shared her thoughts about blending her passions, the dream that was forming in her journal. Sarah listened intently, occasionally nodding, her eyes brightening with every word that flowed from Emma. "You're on to something," Sarah eventually said. "We need more spaces like that where creativity meets healing. You could create workshops that really touch people's lives." The validation sparked a newfound energy inside Emma. But just as quickly, another wave of doubt crashed over her. What if the idea failed? What if she organized a workshop and only 2 people signed up? What if, despite her best efforts, she couldn't balance both roles, leaving her feeling burned out? As she sipped her tea, Emma realized that confrontation with these thoughts was now inevitable. She would need to tackle her fear of being discovered as an imposter, the constant nagging belief that perhaps she wasn't cut out for this. She needed to arise from that fear stronger than before, for both herself and for the people looking to her for inspiration. The subsequent moments were filled with laughter and exchanges, but beneath those light-hearted layers, Emma pondered her entire existence, how to fuse nursing, creativity, and personal fulfillment into a sustainable whole. Could she redefine her identity rather than stripping one aspect away entirely? As Sarah departed, a spark of determination ignited in Emma's core. Between fear and passion, she understood she was being pushed to the precipice for a reason. The next days would require her to engage with discomfort, charting a path into the unknown, away from the safe confines of nursing for real, tangible change. Yet, where would she find the courage? As various fears surfaced, Emma acknowledged that the journey would inevitably include failures, rejections, and possible intoxication with self-doubt, as moments required clarity and courage. Resolutely, she determined to seek mentorship in her community, to probe deeper into business resources, guiding her toward a fruitful yet uncertain venture. Just as she resolved to take control of her destiny, her phone buzzed on the table. A message from a local entrepreneur group flashed before her eyes. "Join us for a networking event tomorrow evening. Let us transform ideas into reality." Emma froze, her heart racing at the thought. This was not just an invitation. It was an opportunity demanding an immediate decision. In that fleeting moment, Emma recognized this truth. To advance beyond her fears, she must embrace the very events that frightened her. And so, she took a deep breath. Would she attend, risking exposure to failure, or let yet another opportunity slip away? As she finally grasped her phone to respond, a pulse of urgency coursed through her. Emma was on the precipice of a decision that could alter her path forever. Would she leap into the unknown? The room felt electric, all possibilities swirling in the air, waiting for her choice. Emma's heart raced as her thumb hovered over the screen, the weight of her decision settling heavily. She longed for purpose, for an avenue that married her nurturing spirit with her creative impulses. Hit with a mix of exhilaration and trepidation, she pressed yes to the networking event. For the first time, the excitement felt greater than the fear. The next day dawned with a blend of promise and anxiety. Emma spent the morning pacing in her kitchen, mentally rehearsing her introduction. She visualized herself at the event, the venue buzzing with conversations, ideas exchanged like currency. Would they see her as a competent professional or dissect her as an imposter? Each detail felt significant, a reflection of her blossoming identity. Arriving at the local art gallery, the gallery's textured walls and vibrant art provided a backdrop that contradicted her inner turmoil. The mingling crowd buzzed with ambition, each person radiating confidence. Emma's pulse quickened. Her mother had always told her, "You never know who you might meet." Striving to breathe through her nerves, she entered the room. She maneuvered through clusters of conversations. She felt surrounded by creativity. A group stood animatedly discussing potential collaborations. Emma observed how easily ideas flowed between them, each voice amplifying the next. She tugged at her sleeve, feeling the odd blend of longing and discomfort. She wanted to participate yet feared stepping forward. After what felt like an eternity, she spotted an opening and seized it. Gathering her resolve, she approached a woman enthusiastically discussing a healing arts workshop. "Hi, I'm Emma. I've been exploring the idea of combining creativity and healing in my own workshops." The words escaped before she could second-guess herself. The woman turned with a smile. "That sounds incredible. I'm Jenna. I work with a local group focused on mental health through art. We do outreach programs that might be exactly what you're aiming for." Emma felt a spark ignite at the mention of synergy. "It's something I'm really passionate about. I've worked in nursing for years, but this creative path feels like a missing piece." She proudly shared the vision that had bloomed in her journal, tracing the contours of her aspirations beyond the confines of traditional nursing. As they spoke, Jenna listened attentively, her eyes lighting up with each point Emma made. "Have you thought about what demographic you want to target? I believe nurturing creativity in children could be amazing, especially for those struggling emotionally," she proposed. Emma pondered this through a haze of enthusiasm and revelation. She had always been drawn to working with those in need, especially the vulnerable. "I hadn't considered that angle, but it resonates deeply with me," she admitted. What if she could extend her nurturing touch beyond the hospital wards, guiding young minds towards self-expression through art? The conversation sparked a swirl of ideas within Emma, awakening her deeper potential. Perhaps the melding of these two worlds could lead her to unforeseen places, igniting flames in others she once nurtured in herself. As they exchanged contact information, Jenna suggested collaborating to host a small pilot workshop. Excitement surged within Emma. Here lay the chance to explore herself with a community of like-minded individuals, giving her an outlet she had yearned for. Yet, an undercurrent of doubt threatened to surface once more. What if this collaboration faltered? What if the response to her workshops was tepid? Shaking off the shadows of uncertainty, Emma realized she had to confront these doubts. If she attempted to shield herself from failure, refusing to explore, she risked remaining trapped in the confines of her nursing role, unfulfilled. She began to draft a plan in her mind, outlining potential workshops, demographic insights, and timelines. The room around her buzzed with potential collaborators, each encounter teaching her more about defining her path. With every passing minute, Emma recognized the power of vulnerability in her journey, the willingness to step into discomfort and invite personal growth. As the night unfolded, she dared to embrace the possibility of failure, surrounding herself with optimism. She was no longer bound to the narrative that limited her progression. The networking event had ignited something undeniable. Change was calling her name. Returning home, Emma's mind raced as she scribbled notes in her journal. Her feelings of doubt can coexist alongside this promise of creativity. Both belonged to the expansive future she envisioned. At this junction, the horizon felt wide and uncharted. What lay ahead remained uncertain. Yet if she dared to navigate this new territory and embrace potential pitfalls, who knew what transformative lessons awaited her on this journey? In that moment, She realized she needed more than just a vision. She craved a tangible plan, something to ground her ambitions in reality. What would her next steps be? The gap between intention and action beckoned. A chasm teeming with possibility, she nestled under her blanket. The notebook lay open beside her. In a haze of thoughts braced for exploration, Emma knew one thing. She had to choose her next courageous move. Would she reach out to Jenna tomorrow to discuss a workshop proposal, or would hesitation cloak her ambitions once again? An unfamiliar tremor of excitement coursed through her in anticipation of what lay ahead, leaving Emma on the threshold ready to step beyond the veil of doubt into a world of expansive possibilities. Emma woke the next morning with the sunlight filtering through her window, illuminating her room with possibilities. The discussions from the previous night replayed vividly in her mind, like a vivid film she could watch on repeat. The exhilaration of connecting with Jenna fueled her breakfast routine. With each bite of her toast, she contemplated her next steps. This was more than just a fleeting ambition. It was the potential spark of transformation. Fueled by caffeine and purpose, Emma sat at her dining table, her laptop open, the blank screen almost mocking her hesitation. It was time to take action. She opened a new document titled Workshop Proposal and began typing. What demographic would she focus on? The thought of guiding children towards better emotional expression made her heart swell with excitement. Could this be the bridge between her nursing experience and her creative aspirations? As she outlined her ideas, Emma found herself caught in a wave of self-doubt. Would anyone take her seriously? But hiding from these thoughts would only keep her stagnant. A deep breath steadied her resolve. She was not just a nurse. She was evolving into something much larger. The skills she honed in her nursing career, empathy, communication, a deep understanding of mental health, would serve as the solid foundation for her new path. She paused, reflecting on her own childhood. Was there a time when she felt lost or unheard? Absolutely. Those vivid memories of drifting through tough times without an outlet flashed before her. This pull towards nurturing children didn't just resonate with her creativity. It touched upon her own unresolved experiences. While she typed, Emma crafted an initial outline for the workshop, focusing on creative activities that encouraged self-expression through art. She envisioned painting, writing, and even music as tools for healing. Each section flowed more easily than the last, breathing life into her vision. But then another wave of doubt crashed in. Would this truly help? Her hands hovered over the keyboard, uncertainty clawing at her chest. What if children didn't respond positively, or worse, if she inadvertently triggered something painful? Balancing professionalism with creativity felt precarious. The last thing she wanted to do was harm those she intended to help. Emma pushed back against the creeping fear. She had to confront this dilemma head-on. Finding the right approach involved understanding the potential risks but also embracing the value in vulnerability. Every workshop needed an element of raw honesty and admission of her journey, the integration of her dual roles. With renewed determination, she transitioned into planning practical steps. Email Jenna to discuss the proposal. Research local schools and mental health organizations for potential partnerships. Create a mock-up of the workshop curriculum to present. Each task was a stepping stone, guiding her towards clarity and purpose. After her initial brainstorming session, Lauren, her closest friend, texted, "Happy to help. Want to talk about your vision over coffee?" The offer felt like a lifeline. Sharing her thoughts with someone who believed in her could further untangle the knot of anxiety within her. Driving to the coffee shop, Emma felt the familiar tightening in her chest but managed to smile. She understood now that every small step towards this transformation could be riddled with misgivings. It was the act of stepping into discomfort that marked the path to growth. She had the agency to build something lasting. At the cafe, laughter and warmth enveloped her. Lauren's bright eyes sparked with curiosity as she sat across from Emma, encouraging her to dive deep into her ideas. The conversation flowed, and Emma realized how much lighter she felt when sharing her aspirations. "I think you should move forward with it, Em. You have the experience and the heart for this," Lauren insisted, her voice steadying the doubts swirling within Emma. "You just need to own it." Feeling invigorated by her friend's encouragement, Emma recognized the grasping threads of hesitance were starting to loosen. Each affirmation gave her the strength to lean into this journey. Shifting the narrative from doubt to action was undeniably empowering. As they wrapped up their meeting, Emma felt an undeniable shift within her. A burgeoning confidence began to stabilize against the rough waters of uncertainty. She decided then and there to email Jenna and get the ball rolling once and for all. Returning home, Emma sat down with her laptop once more, ready to draft that email. With every keystroke, she felt more in control of her narrative, her ambivalence transforming into anticipation. She knew there was still much to do, plans to refine, potential setbacks to brace for. Yet in that moment, she rediscovered what was at the heart of her journey, an earnest desire to empower others, to help children find their voices. But as she pressed send on the email to Jenna, Emma couldn't shake the looming question that sat at the edge of her consciousness. What unforeseen challenges would await her once she committed fully to this new realm, and how would she respond to the inevitable hurdles ahead? With a mixture of excitement and apprehension, she concluded her night, fully aware that a monumental shift was on the horizon. The next morning, Emma awoke with a determined clarity she hadn't felt in years. Each heartbeat resonated against the backdrop of her ambitions, and as she prepared for another day, her mind traced the contours of her plans. The earlier tentative feelings of hesitation had shifted, replaced by a burgeoning enthusiasm tempered with realistic anticipation. The conversation with Lauren lingered, fueling her drive to push through the obstacles and embrace what lay ahead. After a quick breakfast, she headed to her laptop, ready to dive into her research. She began with local schools and organizations, searching for potential partners who would align with her vision. The idea of collaboration excited her. She could already visualize brainstorming sessions, mutual learning, and shared goals. However, part of her felt an uncomfortable flutter at the thought of pitching her ideas. What if they didn't resonate? What if her enthusiasm faltered under the weight of scrutiny? Pushing those thoughts aside, Emma focused on creating a compelling narrative for her workshop. She wanted it to offer more than just activities that encouraged creativity. Each component had to resonate with the realities of children's emotional landscapes. She infused her proposal with carefully selected statistics on childhood mental health, aiming to underscore the workshop's significance. The more she detailed her approach, the clearer her purpose became. Hours passed, and it was time for her first outreach. Emma crafted a thoughtful email to the principal of a nearby elementary school, articulating her vision while noting her background in nursing and her passion for child welfare. Each word felt significant, a thread weaving her past experiences into her burgeoning identity as a facilitator and mentor. Pressing send was an act of faith, invigorating yet unsettling. Afterward, Emma took a moment to breathe. She needed to solidify her foundation further, to amplify her learning. A series of online courses related to child psychology and creative methods in therapy beckoned. Could it be possible to understand the nuances of childhood emotion even better while concurrently developing her own workshop? The thought was both terrifying and exhilarating. Each click deeper into these studies brought the unfamiliar into focus. A deeper understanding of trauma-informed practices and access to tools that could help illuminate her path. Days turned into a week of meticulous planning, online learning, and connections, and yet the shadows of self-doubt periodically crept back. She confronted them with a fierce resolve, using her journal as a kaleidoscope to examine her feelings from different perspectives. Would she be effective? Could she truly make a difference? Each night, she courageously penned her fears, unraveling them with the clarity of her aspirations. One fateful afternoon, as she prepared for another round of emails, her phone buzzed, interrupting her thoughts. It was a message from Jenna, asking to meet. Emma's heart raced. This was a pivotal moment. Jenna's experience in a similar field could provide valuable insights, but she also feared exposing her vulnerabilities. Determined, Emma laid out her thoughts and prepared questions, knowing she had to prioritize her needs in this meeting alongside exhibiting professionalism. Facing Jenna would be a test. Was she ready to confront the reality of someone else's expertise, exposing her still maturing ideas? She felt a familiar tightness in her chest, but this time, it came with a tinge of excitement. Standing in front of the mirror, she practiced her opening line, mentally adjusting her posture, reminding herself of her purpose. This was more than just a consultation. It was an opportunity for growth. But would she be able to absorb the wisdom while remaining true to her emerging identity? As she headed towards the cafe, Emma's mind raced through possibilities. What insights would Jenna share? Would she validate Emma's ambitions or expose her weaknesses? With doubt and anticipation intertwining, Emma felt the convergence of her journey, a merging of her past as a caregiver and her ambitious vision for the future. The moment of truth was drawing near, and Emma couldn't shake the unsettling question. How significant would this meeting be in defining her newfound path, and what would it reveal about herself in the process? As Emma entered the cafe, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee enveloped her, grounding her in the moment. The soft murmur of conversations around her almost drowned out the rising anxiety inside her. She spotted Jenna at a corner table, scrolling through her phone. "Hey, I'm so glad you could meet," Emma said, her voice shaking just slightly. Jenna looked up and smiled warmly, a contrast to the tremor of uncertainty swirling within Emma. "Absolutely. I've been looking forward to it. How've you been?" Jenna replied, placing her phone down. The sincere interest in her tone eased some of Emma's tension, allowing for a moment of genuine connection. "I've been okay. Busy with planning my workshop," she admitted, shifting her focus to the intricate coffee art on the table. "I'm a bit nervous, though. There's a lot riding on this." Jenna nodded thoughtfully. "I understand. Starting something new can bring up a whirlwind of emotions." Emma could see the empathy in Jenna's eyes, as though they were two warriors on the same battlefield of ambition and doubt. The conversation flowed with Jenna sharing her own experiences. Emma listened intently, absorbing not just the triumphs but also the missteps Jenna had faced. It dawned on Emma that vulnerabilities weren't weaknesses but rather invaluable lessons that carved out pathways to resilience. "What was the pivotal moment for you when you decided to keep pushing forward?" Emma asked, emboldened by the authenticity of the discussion. "Honestly, it was a failure," Jenna replied with a faint smile, a sparkle of nostalgia in her eyes. "I pitched an idea that fell flat. I was crushed, but it forced me to face what I really wanted and how I needed to grow." Emma felt a resonance with this truth. Could understanding failure become an integral part of her journey? She had previously viewed her anxieties as roadblocks, but what if they were signposts guiding her growth instead? As the discussion deepened, Emma shared her own vision, the details of her workshop bubbling up with more clarity. Jenna listened attentively, offering suggestions and asking probing questions. Each challenge posed by Jenna wasn't an obstacle. Instead, it illuminated Emma's gaps, and with each response, Emma refined her purpose. The process of articulating her ideas out loud felt invigorating. What if kids, instead of merely expressing emotions, learned the tools to navigate them? Emma pondered, the flames of her passion igniting once again. Jenna's encouraging nod reassured her that her thoughts were worth exploring. By the end of their coffee meeting, Emma felt as if she had just come from a masterclass. Jenna provided not just feedback, but a sense of affirmation. "You have something special here, Emma," she said. "Don't let self-doubt cloud your light." Walking out of the cafe, Emma reflected on the conversation. Each step felt lighter, as if she had shed a layer of insecurity. However, doubts still loomed at the edges of her thoughts. What if she couldn't deliver on the expectations she had set for herself? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows, she made a silent promise to embrace vulnerability as she moved forward. The true test awaited. She needed to reach out to other schools and organizations she had identified for collaboration. The thought of facing more rejections sent a shiver down her spine, but buried deep within was a spark of determination. Embracing fear meant stepping into a new dimension of her journey, a gamble towards becoming the impactful facilitator she envisioned. Her phone buzzed once more as she walked, this time an email notification that brought her heart to a standstill. It was a response from the principal she had contacted earlier. Had she finally sparked interest, or would this email signify a setback that could shatter her newfound confidence? Without hesitation, she swiped to open it. her heart pounding. The moment of truth was here. What would the principal's words reveal about her aspirations and herself? Emma held her breath, her eyes flickering across the screen as she read the email. The principal's words were brief yet direct. Interest had been piqued, but there was a catch. There would be an initial meeting to discuss expectations and objectives before any collaboration could be solidified. The invitation felt like a double-edged sword. It was an opportunity, yet it shrouded her in new layers of apprehension. Would she be prepared for such an engagement, where she would undoubtedly feel the weight of scrutiny? Her mind raced as she considered the potential questions that might arise. What if she stammered in response? What if her carefully crafted ideas crumbled in the reality of the conference room? The anxiety wrapped tightly around her. However, buried beneath it was an urge to shatter these mental barriers. This was the moment to embrace what Jenna had spoken about, using vulnerability as a stepping stone. Taking a deep breath, Emma set her phone aside and switched gears. She envisioned the meeting. She imagined herself seated at the polished table, presenting her workshop ideas with confidence. She replayed a script in her head, formulating answers to inevitable questions, flipping her fear into preparation. Each imagined scenario empowered her, providing a glimpse into the version of herself she wanted to become. As she moved towards her apartment, the symbolism of her surroundings shifted. The vibrant colors of the evening sky morphed into the stark white walls of her workspace. The clutter on her desk, scattered with notes and articles about emotional intelligence and childhood development, seemed less daunting. Instead of disarray, it represented the chaos of creation, a raw material for something transformative. She turned her attention to her notes, eager to refine her vision. Organizing her thoughts into a structured outline felt grounding. Each section represented a crucial facet of her workshop. As she charted out what her sessions would entail, she envisioned a space where children would be taught to process emotions in beneficial ways, where they would arm themselves with tools for navigating life's complexities. Emma's finger hovered over her keyboard. Each keystroke became a declaration against her self-doubt. With every sentence formed, she wrestled with doubts that still clung to her. How would she convey the importance of emotional literacy authentically? A subtle realization began to unfold. Her own experiences with anxiety could serve as a powerful connection point. She could offer understanding in place of mere instruction. By sharing her journey, she could inspire resilience and encouragement. Hours melted away as Emma mapped out strategies, frameworks, and activities. Even the sinking weight of uncertainty began to lift. By the time she leaned back in her chair, the outline had morphed into a living document, a testament of growth, reflective of her determination and desire not just to teach but to guide. Yet, a gnawing thought still lingered in the back of her mind. The principal's invitation loomed closer, a reminder that her next step required more than just preparation. It demanded boldness. What if she did impress? What if this was merely the beginning of a journey that would expand beyond her current ambitions? As excitement mingled with apprehension, Emma resolved to take the leap. She rifled through her notes one last time before closing her laptop, ready to turn her fear into actionable steps. She reminded herself that vulnerability was not a weakness but an essential ingredient in forging genuine connections, one that could inspire others. As she prepared for bed, the weight of anticipation transformed into energy. Just before she drifted off to sleep, Emma gripped her phone, contemplating her next move. Would she invite Jenna to join her for a pre-meeting strategy session? The thought fluttered through her mind, an opportunity to refine her pitch within a safe space. With resolve brewing inside her, Emma made a decision. Tomorrow would hold a new challenge, one that would either fortify her confidence or demand further growth. One way or another, her intentions were clear. She wouldn't just participate in this collaboration, she would thrive. Unbeknownst to her, the principal's questions would unveil not just professional challenges but deeply personal revelations, forcing Emma to confront her motivations in ways she hadn't anticipated. Would she be ready to face what lay ahead? The thought of the upcoming meeting danced tantalizingly in her mind, hinting at revelations that would come to define her path. The day of the meeting arrived, filled with an energy that pulsed through Emma like a lifeline. She stood before the mirror, adjusting her attire, her reflection a blend of nurse and burgeoning entrepreneur. Today, she would embody the synthesis of her past and future. Breathing in deeply, she felt the familiar anxiety, but it transformed into focus, a signal that she was finally stepping into her power. Arriving at the school, the corridor buzzed with life. Emma noted the vibrant posters adorning the walls, each an embodiment of creative expression. As she approached the principal's office, she felt the weight of her preparations and aspirations swirling inside her, urging her to embrace this moment. Once inside the office, the principal greeted her warmly. The discussion unfolded smoothly, like the stitching of a carefully crafted piece. As Emma articulated her vision, a profound sense of certainty enveloped her. Each word carried the essence of her nursing experience. Her commitment to healing converged seamlessly with her passion for creativity. She illustrated her ideas with genuine passion, envisioning a workshop that would not only inspire, but also arm children with the tools to face their emotions. "What you propose is refreshing," the principal remarked, nodding thoughtfully. "However, what do you foresee as potential challenges?" This question, rather than daunting, fueled Emma's determination. Navigating the diverse needs of emotional expression will require flexibility and awareness. "My background in nursing equips me to approach these sensitivities effectively," she replied, her voice steady and assured. The conversation flowed, revealing Emma's profound understanding of her dual roles. As the meeting wrapped up, the principal leaned back, a contemplative look crossing her face. "I can see this being a valuable program for our students. I'd like to move forward with planning." Emma's heart soared. In this moment, a chapter of doubt closed, and a new one began, marked by recognition and validation of her efforts. Leaving the office, the sunlight washed over her, igniting a spark of clarity. This was not merely about creating a workshop. It was a culmination of her journey, a harmonization of her experiences as a caregiver with her aspirations to nurture creativity in children. In the following weeks, Emma dove headfirst into the logistics of her workshop. She crafted a curriculum that interwove art, storytelling, and emotional literacy. Each session was designed to provide a safe space for children to express themselves, fostering resilience through creativity. As the start date approached, she faced a new set of fears. The looming question of whether she would successfully deliver on her promises nagged at her. But with each day, Emma observed a shift within her. As doubt lingered, it was overshadowed by the growing excitement of actualizing her vision and making an impact. The day of the first workshop arrived, and the room buzzed with youthful energy. Emma welcomed the children with warmth, her heart swelling at the sight of their eager faces. Each activity felt more than just a task. It resonated as a building block in a foundation that could empower these young minds. Throughout the session, Emma witnessed profound moments of vulnerability and connection. Children poured their hearts into art, creating pieces that echoed their individuality and emotions. Through laughter and shared experiences, she felt the collective spirit of healing manifested tangibly before her. As the session concluded, Emma gathered with the children, reflecting on their creations. The joy in their eyes ignited a fire within her, confirming the importance of this work. "Every piece you've made today holds the story of your journey," she declared, a newfound confidence swathing her words. In the weeks that followed, the workshops blossomed into a community initiative, drawing interest across schools and organizations. Each new participant added to the tapestry of growth, not just for the children, but for Emma as well. She received feedback that spoke of transformation and discovery, not just in confidence, but in forging connections with themselves. Emma's pursuits echoed far beyond teaching. They reflected a commitment to honest work and healing, resonating with her father's lessons like a heartbeat. With purpose guiding her, she faced the fear that had once paralyzed her, embracing vulnerability as she taught others to do the same. Ultimately, Emma transformed not just into a workshop facilitator but into a beacon of hope and authenticity. She had conquered her doubts, steering her path with unwavering determination. In moments of quiet reflection, she felt solid confidence rooted in tangible outcomes, a recognition of her competence, and an established position within a community that valued her contributions. With each passing day, Emma embraced her dual identity as a nurse and an artist. She had finally stitched together the fragments of her past to create a vibrant future, a legacy woven from resilience, creativity, and genuine connection. Believe in your dreams, for they hold the power to reshape your reality. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.